What's the most badass thing you've accidentally said in the heat of the moment? I'll never forget the moment a family walked into the local pub I was working at while I was working. This big king of the grill, bald alpha, patriarch dad type and his wife and kids came through and I said, "Welcome, where would you like to sit?" He snapped back, "Well, a table would be nice." And without missing a bit at all, I replied, "Actually, we usually sit on the chairs here." I'll never forget the satisfaction of the moment or the look on his face. Haha. My uncles were bitching about my dad, so I walked into the conversation and told them it wasn't polite to talk about people behind their backs. My uncle turned to me and said I shouldn't interrupt when the men are speaking. And completely out of character, I replied, "I don't see any men in here." Boy, did I get some shit that day, but that's how I knew I won that exchange. I didn't realize the nature of my comment when I wrote it, but in high school one of my teachers did end of the year anonymous evaluations. Everyone hated him, and I understood why, but I still did well in his class. I wrote, "I don't have any critiques about your teaching, but I think you should work on being a better person." Dude, how old were you? That line would have definitely destroyed me if I had been your teacher. I think I was 15, but I was a pretty naive, honest kid and I was genuinely trying to help the guy out. I really didn't intend for it to come off that way, haha. Not only that, but the teacher totally know who is who, based on the writing structure and how you print. Some kids do shitty R's or whatever and you start to recognize their writing. So this teacher totally knew it was this guy who wrote it, but since it was anonymous, he had to hold his cool and not say anything. Source, I'm not a teacher, but I pretended in my mind while writing this comment as if I was a teacher. When I was 12, my older sister had a boy over for Thanksgiving dinner. She dated lots of douches, but this guy took the cake. Big brash, annoying dickhead who was rude to her and basically everyone. As we sat down for dinner, before we were about to say what we were thankful for, he says inaudible moron grunts, "Huh. Looks like I'm seated at the head of the table. Must be important," with a huge shit-eating grin. Without pausing, I gestured to my dad, seated opposite him, and said, "Actually, my dad is at the head of the table. You are the asshole." My mom scolded me for swearing at the table, but years later told me her and my dad thought it was hilarious. After 4 years in an abusive relationship and 1 year of an abusive marriage, I told my ex that I wanted a divorce. He told me that I couldn't divorce him or I would go to hell. My response was, "Well, I guess I'll see you there." I then kicked him out of my house, for which he had never paid a dime in bills, and told him to call his mom for a plane ticket. Not the most badass story here, but it felt good. I was around 17 or 18 and getting my first filling at the dentist. They pumped me up with nitrous oxide for pain and to help me relax during the procedure. Dentist came back and asked me, "How are you feeling?" All I said was, "I don't." And he lost his shit and cracked up for what seemed like 20 minutes before he could pull himself together. I also started cracking up because of the laughing gas and his laugh was infectious. So we were both just sitting in the room laughing and all his assistants came back and were very confused, lol. Not me, my daughter. This boy at school called her retarded. Her response? "No, I'm autistic. I don't know what your effing excuse is." She was in 6th grade. I was pretty shocked when I got that phone call. She usually doesn't say things to people. Then of course you asked what happened to the other boy. I absolutely did. They said that he would be punished appropriately. They wouldn't tell me anything else. I worked at Target back in college in a stocking job, where we had to be there at like 4 to 5 a.m. to unload trucks. One morning I overslept a bit and walked to the unpacking line about 10 minutes late, eating a breakfast bar. The boss stormed over and started loudly berating me in front of everyone for being late. As he was going on, I was listening and taking bites of the bar without much expression, mainly because I was so damn tired. It finally bothered him that I was disrespectfully chewing during the yelling and he stopped mid-sentence, held out his hand and said, "Give me that damn thing." It just happened that I only had 1 bite left, so I took it, handed him the wrapper and said, "Thanks," with a mouth full of food. He paused and started laughing at the ridiculous response to his bitching. We were buddies after that. Young male traveling with a bunch of other males. Border Patrol. We were being searched for drug smuggling. Border Patrol agent, "You know I have the authority to cavity search you." Me, somehow without skipping a bit, "Sure you might, but neither of us would enjoy it and you wouldn't find anything. Off the hook, no fingers in my butt." A couple months ago, my now ex-friend was telling me all the things that were wrong with me, and she finished it with, "And at least I don't have to wear makeup to look pretty." I was so fed up with her shit, so I responded, "At least I am capable of looking pretty." She was speechless and I felt like such a badass, because this was the first time I ever stood up to her. I am a writer and I do a bit of stand-up comedy. As such, people tend to introduce me to new people as a comedian, writer, etc. So I was outside a bar smoking with a friend of a friend. He then introduced me to one of his friends. His friend was dressed like Liam Gallagher from Oasis and seemed to exude a bit of cocky, sneery manner. The introduction went thusly. Friend of a friend. Mr. Gallagher, this is writer of wrongs. He's a comedian. Mr. Gallagher looks me up and down. Comedian, eh? Does that mean you think you're funny? Writer of wrongs. No, it means everyone else does. I literally do not know where it came from. I didn't think about the response, it just came out. And it is hands down the greatest thing I've ever said. I was accused of being passive-aggressive. I replied, which part sounded passive? I don't ever want to come across as passive. At work, at a company meeting, someone was presenting something cool they volunteered to work on and finished. Then they explained things they thought they could do better in a self-deprecating way, and a bunch of other people started railing into his work with petty criticism. It was definitely good work though, and a thought just hit me, so I blurted it out. Sometimes done is the best feature. A bunch of people laughed and then the criticism stopped. People gave him kudos and we moved on. Not really badass, but I was surprised this thought somehow came out fully formed, like it was some phrase I've been saying for decades. I guess I was just realizing how many people don't finish anything they start. So done suddenly seemed like a pretty damn good feature. Give the man some credit for finishing the damn thing. This is actually really inspirational. I am a perfectionist and often hate stuff I work on, so much I abandon it. I'm going to try and internalize this message. I already posted here, but I just thought of another story. There was this one extremely attractive girl in my COMM 101 class in college. One day for a project where we interviewed other students, I was partnered with her. We ended up not finishing our questions in class, so I asked her if I could meet her somewhere to finish interviewing her. She said yes. Fast forward to the next day. I meet her after her dance group finishes rehearsal. I knock through the last few questions, and the final one which I ask is, what do you perceive the future to hold? She replies, I don't even know what I'm having for dinner tonight. I have no idea what the future holds. So I say, well, if you don't know what you're having for dinner tonight, do you want to have dinner with me? She laughed, said yes, and though we only hooked up that night, I still look back on that day as one of the best dating stories I've had yet. Finally one that doesn't end with, we've now been married for 15 years. Everyone on Reddit seems to meet their spouse in the most memorable way. Mine was literally, hey, do you need me to move my car? No, you're good. I worked at a bookstore and a customer asked me, how often do the periodicals come out? I deadpanned, periodically, and he asked to speak to my manager. Worth it. I used to work in a bookstore. Smartass answers to dumb questions were the best. Customer, where is your nonfiction section? Me, what topic are you looking for? We have lots of nonfiction. Customer, just your regular nonfiction. Me, biographies, history, computers, gardening. Customer, just your regular nonfiction. Me, see the sign over there that says fiction? The entire rest of the store. I had amazing job security. At a party a few years back, someone stole my friend's purse. Her boyfriend found the guys who took it and got it back for her, but he was still in an angry, drunken rage and was continuing to escalate the situation when he was well outnumbered. My friend finds me and says, I'm afraid boyfriend is about to get into a fight. I need your help. Stop him, please. I stand up and I tell her, I can't promise I can stop him from fighting, but I can promise you I won't let him lose, before walking off to find him. Ultimately, no fight actually broke out, and I didn't realize that I had basically said a cheesy one-liner until after the fact when my friend told me how intense that line was. I didn't mean for it to sound so dramatic. I just wanted to let her know I wouldn't let him get his ass kicked. I didn't mean to make it sound like I was about to demolish 3 guys by myself, like I'm some sort of action hero. I just imagined you taking off your sunglasses after saying that line and dramatic music starting. Thank you for watching the video. Write in the comments your badass replies, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.